It's time for another best of 3 series of top-level StarCraft 2 played with the new multiplayer balance patch. We've had a look at Terran versus Zerg. I'm very curious to see how Protoss versus Zerg will work out next. Now, spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, in game number 1 of this best of 3 series, playing with the blue Protoss pieces, we have the highest ranked Protoss from South Korea, and he goes by the name of Hero. His opponent, a man who we've already seen play on the new PTR patch already with the red Zerg pieces, looking very solid so far. We have none other than SHIN. Alrighty, quick rundown before this game gets started of all of the changes. So first off, for Zerg, the Queen is 25 minerals more expensive, the Hatchery is 25 minerals cheaper. Spine Crawlers are slightly stronger. I don't think that's going to be too relevant in this matchup, but Spore Crawlers are also slightly stronger. They have less HP, but they should be able to kill Oracles a little bit quicker. There's a new Hydra Hive upgrade that allows them to dash around the map for a second. There's Microbial Shroud that sticks to units. So I guess you can play Hydras maybe as like an anti-air weapon against Skytos. We'll have to see. Ultralisks can now push units around. And the Brute Lord Brutelings have 10 HP more than they used to in the previous patch, and they attack a little bit faster. Maybe that's a good idea for Zerg against like a, I don't know, like a full ground army from Protoss. We'll have to see how it goes. Now, I have been a little vocal, especially on Twitter, about the Protoss changes. I am kind of frustrated with the way that all of the Protoss changes work out. Basically, for years now, whenever Protoss gets an adjustment in a balance patch, they always get a nerf to go alongside with it. So, for example, there's a new energy ability on the Nexus that I think is really cool. However, shield battery overcharge has been removed. Other than that, the shield battery itself has plus 50 shields as well as plus 50 health. It should be a little bit stronger overall. It should be a little bit beefier. The Colossus, it used to have 50 additional shields. Now that shields has been swapped over to health. So that is a specific change against the Ghost. So whenever a Ghost tries to EMP a Colossus, it will technically deal less damage. In my mind, you would be better off nerfing the Ghost itself, but apparently we're doing a tiny little, I guess we can call it like a quality of life improvement on the Colossus. The Tempest supply has gone from 5 to 4, but it has less anti-air range. On top of that, it's also a little bit more microable. The Immortal has become 25 minerals cheaper, but then at the same time, it also has a 10% DPS decrease. The Disruptor is back to its original 1.5 radius, but it deals less damage. Most notably, it will now no longer one-shot Roaches, Ravagers, and Marauders, so that's huge. I guess in Protoss versus Terran, it's going to be most notable. And then last but not least, the Mothership. It's more expensive, but it also deals more damage. Okay. Now, I would say the most notable thing here in the early game, other than, of course, the Zerg changes, with Zerg being a little bit harder, blah, blah, blah. Build orders for Zerg are going to have to change, but it's minerals for, you know, the Hatchery is slightly cheaper, the Queen is slightly more expensive. It mostly balances itself out. I would imagine that the most important change for the early game is the removal of the shield battery overcharge. And then we have that new Nexus energy ability. So the way that the ability works is you take a unit that you want to have more energy on, and you can basically transfer it from the Nexus to the unit. Originally, I was thinking this would be most useful for example, well, I don't know, like Oracles, or maybe you could do it on a Sentry, right? You can maybe get some more force fields down. You could go ahead and use it as well on like a High Templar to get some storms a little bit quicker. The most commonly used place for it, at least for Protoss versus Terran, in all of the games I've seen, is for a Sentry first build. So we see a lot of Stalker into Sentry, maybe like straight Sentry openers. What you can do, and this is actually a really significant buff, what you can do is take the energy from the Nexus, use it onto the Sentry immediately, and use Hallucination Scouts right from the very beginning of the game. You can continuously scout your opponent with it, which is huge, because Protoss is, well, blind in the early game most of the time. Apparently what Hero is doing here is a Phoenix build. We never really see Phoenix builds anymore in this matchup, but I guess it makes sense, because the reason why Phoenix builds are quite weak is that Zergs usually overmake Queens against this sort of build and then go for a, well, Queen counterattack. With Queens being 25 minerals more expensive, so from 150 to 175, maybe it indirectly buffs Phoenix builds as well. I had not yet considered this, but maybe it's not that bad of an idea. Immediate bailingness, though, upon seeing this here from SHIN. So maybe he wants to go for a bit of a bailing bust. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it would be a great play, but... I have noticed a little bit of complaining that specifically because shield battery overcharge no longer exists, the queen marches, even though the queen is more expensive, are pretty much impossible to stop. Anyways, for now, I actually really do like this here from Hero, who's making the Phoenixes look like a really formidable choice of unit, and there we have the Adepts coming in too. SHIN is not prepared for this at all. I had not yet thought about Phoenix builds. These builds are considered to be so mediocre in this matchup, and really, even against Terran, we don't even see it that much anymore, but... yeah, maybe the Queen nerf. Maybe it's gonna bring Phoenix builds back. It's been a long time since Phoenix was the meta in this matchup. And so far, it seems like Hero is cruising to a really nice advantage. So he's been building up his economy. He's got 4 additional gateways finishing up. He's gonna go into charge together with +1. I wonder if he should have gone glaives here instead, but... yeah, certainly something that is worth experimenting with. Now, I kind of feel like some of the changes, right, to Protoss are just a little bit mean. Like, whenever Zerg and Terran get a change, whenever Zerg and Terran are considered to be weak, they always just get a straight-up buff. But Protoss never gets a buff. It never happens. So the Tempest get a little bit more microable, and they are 1 less supply, but then at the same time, they also have 1 less anti-air range. The Immortal is made a little bit cheaper, but then at the same time, it has about 10% less damage output. We have the Mothership that's being made stronger, but then at the same time, it's 100 minerals and 100 gas more expensive. The Colossus has 50% more HP, but then at the same time, it has 50 less shields. It's all of those little things that kind of frustrate me a bit. I feel like you can get away with a straight up buff every once in a while. Especially considering that Protoss is just straight up underperforming at the highest level when it comes to offline tournaments. Now, here we go. Hero going for what seems to be a really nice set of attacks here. This isn't even a perfectly executed build, by the way, by Hero. I think he could have done this all a little bit more tidy. It's clear that he's experimenting. He lost a bunch of Phoenixes too, which makes all of this a little bit messier. So far, though, SHIN is actually holding on quite well, despite taking a bunch of damage. He's been over-making all of those drones against that Phoenix opener for a little bit already, so his economy is actually not quite as bad as you would expect it to be. Hero also never built a 4th Nexus, so it makes this entire build a little bit all-in-y. I feel like it doesn't have to be quite this committed. Now, the reason, by the way, why a lot of the Balance Council members are a little hesitant with buffing Protoss is because the reason that is constantly quoted, at the very least, is that Protoss is overpopulated in Grandmaster League in particular. So at some point in the past, apparently it peaked. I looked this up. Apparently Protoss peaked with 85% representation in Grandmaster League, which is absurd. That's too much. And you could make the argument that maybe Protoss would win offline tournaments if Max Specs decided to show up. Those are all arguments that I have made that can explain why Protoss is underperforming. But the fact of the matter is that for the health of the game, it is a lot better if all races can win tournaments. And right now, it's been years since Protoss has won something significant. This is a very big misrally here from Hero, giving away one of his Immortals. Luckily for him, I guess it was 25 minerals cheaper, so that helps. Anyways, I'm kind of done with those baby steps, man. We need to, like, buff Protoss and make it a little bit better so we can see Protoss winning tournaments again. Just buff the Tempest straight up, don't reduce its anti-air range. Just add the new energy ability on the Nexus, but don't actually remove shield battery overcharge. It's a lot of those little things where that, yeah, like maybe give the Immortal, I don't know, a mineral buff, but don't make it... What is this movement though, Hero? Come on, man. Why did we just all army hotkey a freaking prison through the queens? All right. Well, this is exactly the reason why a lot of players are like, no, we shouldn't be buffing Protoss, because we see a lot of silly mistakes. Hero in particular is quite well known for being, how do I say this nicely? For miscontrolling his army. Ah. Protoss is quite well known for, our hero rotor is, yeah, we see this, but at the same time, you know, I would like to see Protoss win an offline tournament again. Like, if Protoss turns out to be too powerful, right? If they're winning suddenly every single event, obviously you can nerf it, but I think for the health of the game overall, though, it is really quite bad that Protoss hasn't won anything notable in years. Now, it seems like the main problematic, or the main problematic matchup is Protoss versus Terran. The top-level Terrans just don't really lose against Protoss that much, other than MaxSpecs, but again, MaxSpecs doesn't play. I would still like to see an EMP nerf, maybe to make it less good against like a ghost nerf to make EMP maybe less good against the Protoss mid-game army, but anyways, a lot of damage has been dealt here. 9 probes have just gone down as well. SHIN has arrived at his weapon of choice, and it's Hydraling Bane. Okay, thought for a second those units were just on a little path. Banelings once more running away. Okay, probes do get out of trouble. Is there enough? Colossus is actually putting in a little bit of work. Ranged upgrade or not. We've seen similar things actually from Max. This is actually a banger of a fight here. Very close. Ultimately, both players end up with a pretty similar economy. Huh. Yeah. So the argument, right, that like there's gonna be too many players in Grandmaster League, I don't know, dude. I've been thinking about it a lot. And not giving Protoss improvements because there's too many people in Grandmaster League. Like, I don't think the balance council, the way that the game is balanced right now is through like a pro gamer council. I don't think they can change that. Like, that has to do with the fundamental, like, game style of Protoss. At the highest level, Protoss is underperforming. I don't think the balance council can really achieve balancing the game at the highest level and then also in, you know, like for ladder heroes out there is at the same time. I feel like it's a fundamental core issue to the way that Protoss is played. And while it's a cool idea to do this as a balance council and to try and do it both, I feel like it's something that Blizzard is gonna have to step in for, and they're actually gonna have to actively develop the game, or we just have to give up on that notion entirely. Just, yeah, focus on balancing the game at the pro level instead. As much as that sucks to say, I feel like it might be the only way. Lurkers are being morphed in right now, though. Is there enough here for Hero to break through all of it? Okay, well, Zerglings are going to town. There's a few Zealots here trying their very best to hold the door, but can SHIN clear out all of these units that are now on the creep? A lot of reinforcing troops, but ultimately, too much damage is being done by Hero. And in a very nice game number 1, it's our Protoss who wins the match. Yeah, so the question is always, right, like, how do you balance the game? Do you balance around the pro level, or do you balance around everything else? There's people that suggest separate balance patches for separate, like, several different leagues. So say, like, you're, I don't know, a Platinum League player, your unit stats are going to be different than a Grandmaster player. I think that's stupid. I think that takes away the beauty that is StarCraft, where everything is relatively simple. Like, everything is relative simplicity. I think you need to balance for the pro level. That's the only thing that really makes this game last as long as it has already. It is a cool idea to try and balance for every skill level, to try and make, you know, Bronze League as balanced as top-of-the-line pro gaming, but that's unrealistic. It's just not possible. There have been 1,000,001 balance suggestions, though. And I do think at some point it does obviously come down to individual skill, right? But I do think it's actively hurting the game quite a bit that Protoss just isn't performing nearly as well. I think a lot of people that like to watch the game, like, I've heard this several times before, you know, like people that come up to me at events and are like, oh yeah, I'm a Protoss player. I haven't really watched in a long time because I know Protoss is just not performing very well and I just don't care. Like, I don't have anybody to cheer for. That is actually, like, that's actually a problem. The fact that there's just nobody really... Like, you can cheer for Hero. And, you know, be excited for him performing well. But then again, he hasn't won a tournament that is notable in years. For Zerg, you have several players to cheer for, right? You can be a fan of Serral, you can be a fan of Raynor, you can be a fan of, like, I don't know, you could be a fan of Rogue as well, right? There's a lot of players out there. And likewise, you have that for Terran too. Players like Clem, players like Maru, players like Björn. But for Protoss, it all kind of feels like you're, like, just below that skill level, right? Like, there's nobody... Like, MaxSpecs is the best example. And I'm a little bit concerned that if you do buff Protoss quite significantly... that MaxSpecs is never gonna lose an online tournament ever again. That we're just gonna see MaxSpecs win all of the things. Hey! Sorry, I gotta go back for that. We'll see. Okay, so Hero here does not have energy on the sentry. Look, Nexus spawns with 50 energy. Bam! Hallucination being used here to tickle an Overlord to death. Is this gonna kill an Overlord? I think the Overlord can still escape, but there's a Stalker just about to spawn. I think this is actually the biggest buff. This is actually the most notable change in the entire patch. The energy change for the Nexus is huge. You can use it on Oracle as well. You can use it on Shield Battery, obviously. Now, the argument you hear quite a bit from, again, myself included too, is that when players like Serral, when players like, for example, Clem, picked up StarCraft 2, they didn't play like Protoss. If they would have picked Protoss, they probably would have been dominating just as hard. Obviously, you know, we'd have to be able to travel to alternate universes to actually figure out whether or not that's true. It's always hard to say how much stuff is down to individual performance. Because actually, a lot of Terran players out there are struggling quite a bit. It's really just Clem. And for years, a lot of Zerg players were really struggling quite a bit. It was really just Serral, right? Winning the vast majority of stuff. It's, yeah, a lot of it is individual performance, but I think it would be nice if all three, like, this is somehow turned into, like, a controversial statement in the StarCraft world, but I think it would be really nice if all three races would win offline tournaments. Somehow people are like, no, Loki, you can't say that. Are you out of your mind? Every finals needs to be Terran versus Zerg. Alright. It'd be nice, though. It'd be nice, though, if we had a Protoss player to, like, you know, look out for as well. A Dark Trine opener here for Hero this time around. Interesting. We have Charge coming up on the back of this too. Yeah, it is interesting about how the way, like the way that StarCraft is designed, you can never know how much of it is down to individual skill and how much is it down to balance of the game, right? Like that is one of the... With chess, the best player winning the tournament meant that they were the best player. But historically for StarCraft 2, I think there's been a couple examples where the game is overtuned for one race or the other. Let's see how this goes right here for SHIN. So he does not have Shield Battery Overcharge anymore. Does that mean he can hold this? Now, I think SHIN was probably hoping he was going to run into a 3-base opener, but he's playing against a 2-base Protoss, so I don't think this is a good play. He can get energy right there on the sentry, continuously from that Nexus. Keep in mind, though, that the Nexus ability is on a 1-minute global cooldown. You could force field this for a long while, though. Shield batteries to compensate for the shield battery overcharge loss have 50 more HP and 50 more shield, so... yeah. I don't think that was an optimal push, though, for SHIN, because he was hoping, and maybe assuming here, that the opponent had a third Nexus. A couple of invisible men have joined the battlefield. You know another nerf that I think was stupid, in hindsight in particular? Remember when Dark Templar, when they could blink, they could instantly attack? Randomly, about a year or two ago, they can no longer do that. They had like a 1-second delay before they could attack again because apparently Planetary Fortress were dying too quickly. Stupid nerf. Don't agree with it. Please revert. Thank you. Maybe I have to be more vocal myself. I have historically always steered clear from these conversations. Or at the very least not, you know, but maybe, if in the Balance Council the Protoss players don't come up for themselves, maybe I need to, maybe the Terran bullies need to be stopped for a little bit, okay? Maybe the Zerg bullies need to be handled. Apparently I have to come up for the no, but like, it'd be nice if Protoss would also win. It's not gonna lie. Well, so far it seems like Hero is performing really nicely. Maybe this patch is all they need. Seems like this is a transition right now from Shindo into Mutaling Bane? Technically not a bad choice. Specifically because, well, this is not a Stargate opener. This has been a very different build right here from Hero. And without a Stargate, you can't make Phoenixes. And without Phoenixes, you can actually have a pretty tough time countering Mutalisks. Seven Mutas coming in clutch. There's no Psionic Storm. There are Archons, but Archons should never really be able to touch the Mutas. Hero is playing really well here. Well, problem is, this is the first time he notices the Spire. Prism is gonna go down, but the boys can indeed be recalled. Okay. Not bad. I actually think one of the reasons why we don't see a ton of Protosses at the highest level is because of like this like ongoing meme that we've had in the StarCraft world for like more than a decade. Where like Protoss is kind of seen as like the cheesy race, right? Like the cannon rushy and the all-in-y type of race. And I think the players that actually tried to get really good at the game, like the Clems, the Raynors of this world, guys that started playing long after StarCraft 2 came out, they probably looked at the StarCraft world when they first started playing, right? And they were like, oh, okay, so Zerg's kind of cool, Terran's kind of cool, Protoss kind of cheesy. I guess I have to be a Terran or a Zerg, right? If I want to be really good, they seem to be doing well. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know? Like at some point, the best players and the people that start playing right now, like if you start playing StarCraft 2 right now, and you're actively trying to get good at the game, right? You're trying really hard to become one of the greatest. I think you would not be as quickly inclined to pick Protoss. You're probably more likely to pick Zerg or Terran. Anyways. This is a nice attack right here by Hero. Does he have enough to break through all of this? There's still a lot of Zerg reinforcements coming out. I think he is going to be able to clean this up, especially now with the Mutas coming back. That new Prism. Well, maybe we shouldn't just YOLO the Mutas in, but I guess it's an option. All right. The Prism does go down. Immortals also do get picked up. I don't really love that play right there from Hero, actually. I think he could have played that a little bit more conservatively. Recall should have been available again. Oh, actually, no, it was still on cooldown. Okay. That explains it. Yeah. A lot of it, though, also certainly has to do with the fact that the very best macro Protoss in the world, like the man who's looking better right now than any other Protoss player that I've ever seen, the man who seems to be getting better, who's like 19 years old, the fact that he doesn't play offline tournaments, it hurts, dude. As a StarCraft fan, like obviously he can decide whatever he likes. But as a fan of like top-level StarCraft and a fan of this game, and it does directly impact everything a little bit. 207 minerals back for canceling the hatch. Cursed. Don't like it. Hey, Stargate coming up right now for Hero. This is looking like a Mothership Stargate. Could be a Skytel Stargate too, but I don't think it is. I do feel like, by the way, the overall change to the Mothership is a definite nerf. Like, Motherships usually die to Vipers. And they're not any better against Vipers than they used to in the past. Plus, they're more expensive, too. I think the buff to the Mothership would be totally okay without the cost increase, but... Anyways, there's the Fleet Beacon indeed coming up. Shin trying to see if he can get a wraparound right here on this army. It's a strange combination of Zerg units here, but okay. Looks like Hero can just barely escape. Oracle coming up right now here for Hero. Yeah, I think this is actually just to get the Mothership going. So to clarify, the Mothership has like about 3 times or so more damage itself than it used to in the past. I'm hoping we're gonna see it here because the lasers look really cool. And it's gonna give me an easy chance to make a good thumbnail for this video. So, more beams! Give me more lasers! More lasers. More laser. But it's also 100 minerals and 100 gas more expensive. And the reasoning that the Balance Council gave for that change, according to the patch notes, is haha funny meme. Because people in Twitch chat like writing -400, -400. That seemed to be the extent of the reasoning as to why the unit should be 400, 400 again. That's painful, man. I'm just telling you guys, for a Terran or a Zerg player in the Balance Council, that would not be enough. I feel like a lot of Protosses in the Balance Council are like, okay, no, that's, haha, funny. Unit identity, okay, yeah. They would not be okay with that, man. I think if a Terran had that same thing, they'd be like, okay, unit identity, fine, but then also make the Fleet Beacon 100 minerals, 100 gas cheaper. Right? That would be... They could have argued for it. I'm pretty sure. What I'm trying to say is that Terran players in the Balance Council are master politicians. Protoss players, not so much, man. No, their politics skills are not very good. Shin coming around the side here. Oh, look at the lasers! Sorry, can we look at the lasers again? Mama! There she is. Mama, shoot lasers. I'm just gonna follow the Mothership around. I don't care about everything else. Shoot the... Oh, no, that's not a very exciting laser. So the lasers now shoot lasers. Like, more lasers to shoot more... Oh! You like lasers? We added lasers to your lasers. Oh no. Well, there's a Viper coming up. So enjoy the lasers while they last. Maybe it's not a big deal, I don't know. Tempest coming up too, by the way. So Tempest. More microbal. Remember how they made... Ooh, my god. Remember how they made the Viking more microbal, but then at the same time they also made it... Oh no, wait, they made no changes. To the Tempest, they're making the Tempest more microbal, but then also reducing the range of the unit. Lovely recall right here, though, by Hero. Hero is demolishing Shin. Shin is... Yeah, Shin is trying. But Hero is cruising, man. 19 kills on a Mothership. I feel like the unit's been around for like 30 seconds. 19 kills is actually significant. Let's see. We do have the dash ability, by the way, on the Hydralisks, which is that new ability. But I think the Hydra is still gonna get stormed pretty easily. Viper is getting ready to abduct. Tempest? Oh, good feedback. Good feedback. Lovely work. Oh, there's the Hydra. Oh. How long is the cooldown on that Hydra ability? Okay, maybe like 10 seconds. Cloak gets activated. Storms. We have a Time Warp on the ramp as well. One cheeky little lurker trying its very best. Another big set of storms, though. I like how he's dashing out of that. I do like the Hydra dash ability quite a bit. Yeah, looking at these first couple of games that I've seen so far of the new patch, though, I know I'm ranting a lot. Is it bad when I rant? I don't know. Is it annoying? I don't know. Anyways, I do have to say I really do like what I see. Maybe these changes to Protoss are fine, right? Like, maybe it's gonna help out enough. Maybe it will be all they truly need. But I do kind of feel like Protosses are being bullied a little bit by the Balance Council. And I was taught a long time ago that bullying is bad. Mothership actually had 28 kills, by the way. Like, it's been murdering stuff. Here we go. Corruptors do come in. Viper once more gets feedback. Ultimately, Mama is down. But she's done a lot of damage. There's still about 1 million storms left over, but instead we're gonna finish off the hatchery throwing water balloons at it. Archon's trying to be microed underneath. So many storms still available, but he's purposely not using it. GG. It's gonna be a hero who wins this series 2-0. Whoa. Unintentional rep god.